rain hammered down relentlessly, a deafening drumbeat against the roof of the old rusted van. 12-year-old Emma clutched her younger brother Jake tightly as they sat huddled in the back seat. The van had broken down on a deserted, winding road deep in the woods, miles away from the nearest town. Their father had gone to seek help over an hour ago, leaving them alone in the freezing cold.
"Emma, when is Dad coming back?" Jake whimpered, his breath fogging up the window. His small hands trembled as he clutched his flashlight, its weak beam barely cutting through the darkness. "Soon, Jake. He'll be back soon," Emma whispered, though her own heart was pounding. The van's interior was icy, and the faint smell of mildew made her stomach churn. Outside, the wind howled like a wounded animal, and the trees swayed ominously, their skeletal branches clawing at the sky. Suddenly, the flashlight flickered and died. Jake let out a small cry, and Emma fumbled with the batteries, her fingers numb from the cold. But before she could fix it, a loud thud echoed from the roof of the van. Both kids froze. "What was that?" Jake whispered, his voice trembling. Emma's eyes darted to the ceiling. "Probably just a branch," she said, though her voice wavered. The sound came again, louder this time, like something heavy was dragging itself across the roof. Then a low, guttural growl reverberated through the metal. Emma's breath caught in her throat. "Stay quiet," she hissed, pulling Jake closer. The growling grew louder, accompanied by the sound of claws scraping against the van's exterior. Jake buried his face in her jacket, tears streaming down his cheeks. The van creaked as whatever was on the roof shifted its weight. Then, silence. Emma held her breath, her ears straining for any sound. A moment later, a shadow moved past the window. Something tall and hunched, its form barely visible in the dim moonlight. "Emma," Jake whispered, his voice barely audible. "What is that?" "I don't know," she replied, her heart racing. "But we need to stay quiet and still. Maybe it'll go away." But it didn't. The shadow stopped at the back of the van, and the kids heard the sound of something sniffing at the door handle. Emma's mind raced. The van was locked, but the doors were old and flimsy. What if it got in? The handle jiggled, and the kids held their breath. Then, with a sickening creak, the door began to open. The door creaked open just an inch, letting in a blast of freezing air and the stench of something rotten. Emma's heart pounded as she grabbed Jake's hand and pulled him toward the front of the van. The keys were still in the ignition, but the engine was dead. The door opened wider, and a long, clawed hand reached inside, groping blindly. Emma stifled a scream and pressed Jake into the footwell of the passenger seat. The creature's growl grew louder, and its shadow loomed over the van. She fumbled with the controls, her fingers shaking. The headlights flickered to life, illuminating the creature in the blinding beam. It let out a shrill, inhuman screech and stumbled back, its twisted form briefly visible. A hunched, skeletal figure with matted fur and glowing yellow eyes. "Go away!" Emma screamed, honking the horn repeatedly. The noise echoed through the woods, and the creature hissed, retreating into the shadows. For a moment it was gone. "I don't know," Emma said, her voice trembling. "But we can't stay here. We need to find help." They started down the road, the van disappearing into the darkness behind them. But they hadn't gone far when they heard it. A low, guttural growl, followed by the sound of something moving through the trees. Emma's heart sank. It was following them.
What happens next will leave you breathless. Don't miss part 2, coming soon.